The Baron's Ascension, Part 4. The Resistance's final assault on Zyntharion began under the cover of the artificial night, a blackout orchestrated by the remnants of Providence's hacked systems. The city, once a beacon of Krall's power, was now a battleground of chaos. Protesters surged through the streets, clashing with reclaimers and automated drones. Fires raged across industrial zones, casting an eerie glow on the towering spires. Buildings that had once symbolized the Baron's unyielding dominance now stood as crumbling monuments to his overreach. Layla Voss stood atop an armored transport, her eyes scanning the skyline for signs of resistance strongholds or enemy reinforcements. The resistance convoy moved with precision, weaving through debris and avoiding patrols. Beside her, Garen recalibrated his damaged cybernetic arm, his expression grim as sparks occasionally flickered from its joints.
Everything's in place,
Garen said, nodding toward a holographic display projected from his wrist.
The charges are set at key infrastructure points. We hit the central command tower and take Krall down. But if he's got reinforcements...
We stick to the plan.
Layla interrupted, her tone sharper than intended.
No matter what, this ends tonight.
The convoy reached the base of the command tower, a monolithic structure that pierced the heavens like a dagger. Layla led her team through the shattered entrance, her blaster drawn. The resistance had come too far to falter now. As they ascended, echoes of distant battles rang through the metallic corridors, a grim reminder of the price being paid for this final stand. The team ascended through the tower's labyrinthine corridors, encountering sporadic resistance from drones and reclaimers. Each skirmish brought them closer to their target. Finally, they reached the throne room, a vast chamber bathed in crimson light. The air was heavy with the hum of machinery, and the walls were lined with panels displaying live feeds of battles raging across Alderies. Baron Octavian Krall sat on an elevated throne, his gravity rig glowing faintly as it suspended his corpulent frame. Behind him, a massive holographic map displayed the crumbling dominion, red zones spreading like a virus as cities fell to rebellion. His sneer was as calculated as it was condescending, a mask of confidence that betrayed the desperation lurking beneath.
"You've come far, Layla Voss,"
Krall said, his voice a venomous mix of contempt and amusement.
"but this is where your rebellion ends."
Layla stepped forward, her blaster aimed squarely at him.
It ends all right, but not for us.
Krall's laughter echoed through the chamber.
"You think you've won. Disabling Providence was a clever trick, but the Dominion's strength doesn't lie in technology. It lies in control over people, over fear. And fear is eternal."
As he spoke, the chamber's walls lit up with holographic displays of key resistance strongholds. Drones and reclaimers were already moving to crush them. His confidence swelled with each report of advancing forces, the very sight of rebellion being quelled fueling his sadistic pride.
"Your little uprising dies here."
Krall sneered, leaning forward as if to savor their defeat. Garen moved to disable Krall's command console, but before he could, a booming voice interrupted them. The holographic map behind Krall flickered, replaced by the image of a shadowy figure cloaked in darkness.
"Enough, Krall,"
the figure said, their voice modulated to disguise any hint of identity.
"You failed."
Krall's smug expression vanished, replaced by one of genuine fear. His hands gripped the armrests of his throne as if to anchor himself against the inevitable.
"My lord, I can still..."
"You've served your purpose,"
the figure said coldly, their tone devoid of any sympathy.
"but your incompetence has jeopardized the greater plan."
Layla's heart raced. This wasn't the Baron she had fought to topple. This was something far more sinister.
Who are you?
She demanded, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. The shadowy figure ignored her.
Execute termination protocol.
They commanded. Instantly, Krall's gravity rig began to malfunction, sparks flying as it overloaded. The Baron's attempts to protest were drowned out by the sound of tearing metal and crackling energy.
No.
Krall screamed, his body convulsing as the rig collapsed in on itself. His lifeless form slumped forward, his reign brought to an unceremonious end. The chamber fell silent, the dim glow of the holographic map, now the only source of light. The shadowy figure turned their attention to Layla and her team, their forms still obscured, but emanating an unsettling aura of authority.
You've proven resourceful,
the figure said, their tone a chilling blend of mockery and curiosity.
but this rebellion changes nothing. The Dominion is merely a facade. The true power lies beyond your reach.
Layla stepped forward, her blaster trembling slightly in her grip.
Who are you? What is this council you speak of?
She demanded, her voice steady but edged with desperation. The figure's image distorted again, momentarily revealing a vast chamber illuminated by soft, cold light. Hundreds of silhouettes sat at a circular table, their faces hidden by ornate masks and their bodies shrouded in shadows. The room itself was a marvel of technology and design, with streams of data flowing through the air like ethereal rivers.
This council governs not just Alderies, but worlds beyond your comprehension. The figure said, their voice reverberating with an almost inhuman resonance. Krall was a pawn, a tool to ensure order. Now that he's gone, another will rise. The cycle is eternal.
Layla's mind reeled. The rebellion had been fighting a figurehead, not the true architects of oppression. Every sacrifice, every battle they had, only scratched the surface of a far deeper and more insidious hierarchy. She exchanged a glance with Garen, whose expression mirrored her dread.
What do you mean, the cycle?
Layla asked, her voice tinged with both anger and fear.
Why do you control us? What's your purpose?
The figure paused, as if considering how much to reveal.
Order.
They finally said.
Without it, chaos reigns. Your kind left to its own devices destroys itself. We are the architects of balance, ensuring survival through discipline.
Layla clenched her fists.
Balance? You call this balance? Enslaving entire worlds? Forcing people to live in fear?
The figure's tone remained unflinching.
Fear is a tool, Voss. One you've used as well, whether you admit it or not. The difference is scale.
Before Layla could respond, the image of the council chamber dissolved, replaced by a final warning. Leave now, while you can. The Dominion will endure. And should you choose to persist, know this, we will be watching. The hologram flickered off, leaving the room in silence. Garen stepped closer to Layla, his voice barely above a whisper.
What do we do now?
Layla's gaze hardened, her resolve stronger than ever.
We fight,
She said, her voice steady.
not just for Alderis, but for every world they control. They think fear is their greatest weapon, but they're wrong. It's hope, and we'll prove it.
The team gathered their weapons, the weight of the revelation heavy on their shoulders. As they exited the throne room, the echoes of their footsteps carried a promise. The fight was far from over. The resistance emerged from the command tower as the first rays of artificial daylight pierced the smog-filled sky. Zyntharion lay in ruins, but the people were rising. Across the Dominion, rebellions ignited as the broadcast of Krall's demise spread like wildfire. Layla stood atop the rubble, her eyes scanning the horizon. The Council's revelation had shaken her to the core, but it had also ignited a new resolve.
This fight isn't over,
She said to the assembled resistance fighters.
but today we proved that even the most powerful regimes can fall. Let's make sure they all do.
The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices echoing through the ruins of Zyntharion. Layla turned to Garen and the others, a determined smile on her face.
Ready to change the galaxy?
Thank you for exploring the Baron's Ascension with us. Your time and support mean everything, and we hope this story inspired you to reflect on the fine line between innovation and catastrophe. If you enjoyed this journey, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to help us continue crafting immersive, thought-provoking stories. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your interpretations and ideas. Stay curious, stay engaged, and remember, every ending of a new story